Hey, what's up, Improvement Warrior? Welcome back. I am Jason Yun, your host of the Improvement Warrior podcast. This is going to be episode number 64. This is a guest podcast that I did on the Body Charge podcast with Sandy Sanderson from Down Under. So, if you are new here, the Improvement Warrior podcast is all about health, alternative health, okay? Circadian rhythm, mitochondria, hormonal health, grounding, all that stuff, connecting with nature, all that stuff. So, best way to get all the information of everything that I do is get on the newsletter, improvementwarriorfitness.com/NL. But otherwise, some ongoings. So I am operating on probably about 4.5 to 5 hours of sleep because last night was the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight on Netflix, and apparently it was just a complete shit show. I think that it was completely rigged and whatnot, but Netflix had some major streaming issues, so I eventually got on. So I looked at when the fight was actually going to happen. They said it was supposed to happen. Like the Tyson fight was supposed to happen at 11 o'clock. They didn't actually get on till like after midnight. But I started trying to get on a little bit before 11, and it was like streaming issues, buffering issues. But eventually I did get on, and it was right before the Tyson fight, and it was just basically 30 minutes of just nonsense and just predictions and fight analysis and all that. It's just stupid. It's like football analysis. It's like, well, if you score more points than the other team, then you'll win, and blah 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 and blah 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 and blah blah blah. It's like, shut up! I just want to see the fight. Okay, but then it started buffering again, and I couldn't get on, and eventually I didn't start seeing the fight until round 3 of the Tyson Paul. And apparently Tyson won the first 2 rounds, and then he lost the last 6 rounds. But I mean, he basically just stood there and just took punches. So I mean, it's like all the training montages that you saw of Tyson, it was not him. It's like train the way you fight, or fight the way you train. Okay? And he would have just completely destroyed him. But yeah, I think he landed 16 punches in 8 rounds. So it's just complete nonsense. And I had to take a nap before, I took like a 90-minute nap because I was about to fall asleep at like 9 o'clock. So I took like a 90-minute nap so I could stay up and watch the fight. And then after the fight, I was so pissed off and so wired. I couldn't get back to sleep. So I watched the second part of the WWE documentary on Vince McMahon, and then I watched like the first hour of Deadpool Wolverine. So wanted to get something in that was actually good, but I've seen every fight of Mike Tyson since the second Frank Bruno fight in 1985 when I was 7 years old. So we'll always support him, but that was probably the last fight we'll ever see of him. So sad. But what's coming up? So Improvement Warrior University, not the Facebook group. So if you're not in that Facebook group, get in that Facebook group. That's where all the free webinars are. improvementwarriorfitness.com/IWUFB. And but the course is going to be coming up. So that's where I'm going to put basically everything. So all my previous nutrition stuff, all the circadian rhythm, all the posts that I do, it's all going to be organized for you. So it's just going to be a simple, nice introduction to health and getting yourself healthy. And it's not going to consist of fitness and nutrition first. So that's coming soon. Obviously the kids are done playing and they're upstairs now. Thank you very much to Melinda Endress. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support. And if you do want to support the podcast or anything that I do, you can go to improvementwarriorfitness.com/Patreon. All right. So, what we talked about on the Body Charge podcast, so we talked about circadian rhythms, basically exploring the 24-hour internal cycle that helps regulate sleep, wake patterns, impacting our overall health. We talked about sunlight exposure, understanding the critical role of natural light in boosting our mood and sleep quality. Talked about blue light mitigation, so different strategies and ways to reduce the negative impact of blue light for optimizing the sleep. So it was all mostly about the sleep. But DHA's role, we talked about how it supports mental health and cognitive function. Also talked about the electric body and how EMFs destroy our electric body. Talked about hormonal balance, highlighting the importance of regulating melatonin and cortisol for better sleep. And of course talked about the AM morning routine, emphasizing the morning sunlight and always seeing the sunrise. Also talked about screen and wireless management, tips for reducing screen time and tips for minimizing blue light and EMF coming from devices. And finally, we talked about lifestyle adjustments, simple changes that you can do to improve your sleep. But that is it. Hope you enjoy the podcast and share it out with anybody that you know needs to hear it. And it is it's kind of a beginner, so if you've been listening to this podcast, and it's a good refresher. So it's always, repetition is the key to learning, as long as you are getting repeated good information. So there is repeated bad information, which makes it harder to unlearn certain things. So, but enjoy the podcast, and I will talk to you later. Have a great day. Stay strong. Stay positive. Be the improvement warrior.
You are listening to the Body Charge podcast, and I'm your host, Sandy Sanderson. Welcome to the Body Charge podcast. Today's topic is, what has sunlight and sleep got to do with health? You may have heard many refer to us humans as beings of light, but what does that really mean? We know the body runs on bioelectricity and is also affected by electromagnetic fields. Is it possible to get a kind of short circuit that impacts health? And how can we recover better? My special guest today is Jason Yun, a seasoned nutrition and fitness coach with a specialty in circadian biology and rhythms. Jason has created several courses, boot camps, and coaching programs related to circadian health and inspired by Dr. Jack Kruse. So this will interest a lot of people who may have problems sleeping. So welcome aboard, Jason. Lovely to have you on the Body Charge podcast.
Yes, Sandy, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
My first question is about your own personal journey into the light, as they say. How did you get involved in this kind of teaching or health therapy?
Well, I put it off for as long as I could, because when I started my training, I was trained in the typical fitness, personal trainer, nutrition, and that's all you need to be healthy. Is you've got your workouts and you've got a good nutrition program, and if you follow that, you're going to be healthy. But unfortunately, I got sick 2 times in my life following that. First time was in my mid-20s. I suffered from anxiety, depression, thoughts of suicide, and then I kind of went more deeper into like the nutrition side. I found the paleo diet.
Do you mean you actually had tried suicide, or just had thoughts
I did not,
about you didn't want to live?
I did not try. I just had thoughts of it about it weekly. But yeah, I knew something was wrong there. So
yeah, welcome to humanity. I don't know anyone who doesn't in their lifetime at least once have a thought of, why am I here? I shouldn't be here. Yeah, but then you move out of it, and that's a normal cycle of, you know, coming out of a dip. So we get sick, we get ill, the body feels under the weather, and we need to have strategies to get back to balance, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How did you discover the sun?
Um, well, then you mentioned Dr. Jack Cruz earlier. I originally found him in 2013. I had read his book and started to do some of his protocols, but eventually I just stopped doing them completely because I had fitness programs to sell people. I had nutrition programs to sell people. I had supplements to sell people. I just wasn't ready for his message and to follow that. But so the saying goes, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Appears, that's right.
Yeah. And in my case, it was reappear because wasn't until 2018, 5 years later, that he reappeared in my life. Not directly, it was indirectly. It was me going down a rabbit hole of EMF and electro pollution and that kind of stuff. And
Yes, and which
yeah,
is a big issue today.
it is. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of us live and work inside the buzz and the hum of electromagnetic fields, don't we?
Yes.
And when you go out into nature, like far away from that buzz, you really notice the difference. It's so quiet.
You do. Yeah. 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 I was just yesterday. My daughter practices tennis over, and then right over or right beside, she's got power lines, and I mean, if you walk next to them, you can hear the buzzing, and it's just, yeah, you just know it's like really, really bad.
Yeah, it's important to become more attuned to it so that you know you've got at least a clue of what to avoid and how to avoid it. It's about awareness, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah. So anyway, I found him again in 2018, and because I was starting to have basically hormonal problems, like in my late 30s, early 40s, and I mean that was a very big shock to me because I mean, a hard charging man and got a big ego, and I thought I'm doing everything right. I'm working out. I'm doing the nutrition program. What's going on?
So what was going on? What did you find was missing in your otherwise pretty good lifestyle?
Yeah, it was basically, well, I found out I had a cortisol problem. So a lot of people associate cortisol as the stress hormone.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just assume that it's bad, but I mean, it's a hormone. It's there. It's needed. It gets bad when it's either too little or it's
Yeah.
too much or it's the wrong time.
You need it to stimulate metabolism. So that's
Right.
how we make energy, bioelectricity for the body. No cortisol, no energy, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of I was cortisol and melatonin. They play a synergistic role. So when one is high, the other's supposed to be low.
Yes.
There's
According to the circadian rhythms, that's right. It's pretty magical.
Most hormones run off of a circadian rhythm themselves. So
you can't produce melatonin at night, which is a brain antioxidant hormone. You can't start to make it without turning off your stress hormones first.
Right. Yeah.
So it's either or. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So his his 2016 and 2017 presentation at Nourish Vermont, they're free on YouTube. I consider them the two greatest health talks ever, in my opinion. But I had to watch his 2017 probably 7 or 8 times before I actually did anything because I was so ingrained into the fitness, and nutrition world that it was such it was a kick to the balls, basically.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but eventually I took the plunge. I did it. I actually did it wrong because.
So what actually did you do? What is that basic philosophy?
The premise, the center of the circadian rhythm is seeing the sunrise with with naked eyes. So no sunglasses, no contacts. If you do have glasses, you just pull them down to the bridge of your nose so the sunlight can get into the physical eye.
Yeah. But you don't look directly at the sun, do you?
During sunrise, you can.
Because it's very mild?
Well, there's no UV in sunrise or sunset. So, but a lot of people can't, and I certainly couldn't because I was basically what's known as blue light toxicity, so too much artificial light. But you can eventually, if you do it long enough, you can strengthen your eyes so you can stare directly at the sunrise. And sometimes you can even strengthen even more. And when UVA comes out, you can actually look at UV. But to start, if you can't look directly at the sunrise, it's recommended you just look a little bit away. If you're tearing up or you're blinking a lot, just keep looking more away and looking at the sky until
just
you are
a bit off to the side.
Yeah.
So don't do anything that's too uncomfortable.
Yeah. So you strengthen those eyes, and eventually you're able to get them. So I mean, it's like exercise. I mean, you can't do 20 push-ups when you start. So you got to start with 1, then you got to get to 2, and then you got to get to 3, 4, 5.
And so we're retraining the body to what it has for thousands of years done naturally.
Yes.
How it evolved to work with nature's rhythms.
Yes.
And that drives everything. It drives our sleep-wake cycles, our hunger, when we eat. So everything that happens biologically is driven by the circadian rhythms. And so what have we done? We've become very artificial and technologically based.
I have gotten off so many supplements since finding Dr. Cruz in his work in 2018. It's ridiculous. But one that I still take and recommend is magnesium. The big thing with magnesium is that different types of magnesium are uptaken by different parts of the body and organs. So there is a variant with people's responses depending on what they need magnesium for and how deficient they are to begin with. Magnesium deficiency is just as big, if not bigger, than vitamin D deficiency. And a big reason why is magnesium is needed for the conversion step in vitamin D. So what they did at BioOptimizers and Magnesium Breakthrough is they combined the top 7 forms of magnesium in one capsule. Magnesium is a downregulator for the nervous system to relax and leave us from that flight or fight world of stress that is especially caused by blue light and electro pollution that we are all affected by, no matter how much we biohack. It is also critical for vasodilation, increased blood flow. Any pain or problems in certain tissues, it's because not enough oxygen is getting there. Remember, all disease and ultimately death is a state of hypoxia, or lack of oxygen. The goal of electron chain transport is to move the electrons through cytochromes and reduce to oxygen. It's also super important for sleep and, again, for vitamin D production. Overall, there are over 300 reactions that magnesium is directly and indirectly responsible for. I used to usually just take one form of magnesium for a month and then switch to another form. But taking this is so much better. You can check it out at improvementwarriorfitness.com/magnesium for a 10% discount off your order. There's also a 100% money-back guarantee. If it is not the best magnesium supplement you have ever taken, return it for a full refund. But I know you're going to love it.
There is no tomorrow.
And you mentioned before blue light toxicity. Explain a bit about that.
Well, I mean, blue light it's pretty much everywhere. And I mean, it's in my lifetime, it's exploded even more. But basically, if somebody doesn't know what blue light is, basically think of like your phone, a computer screen, an iPad, your TV, street lights, basically overhead. When you go to a grocery store, those overhead lights.
Artificial lights.
So it's not actually a physical blue color. It's just the blue spectrum that's coming at you.
Yeah. And it's not a holistic type of light. It's missing a lot of elements.
Right.
So the body gets used to being skewed then towards this artificial or out of balance lighting system.
Right. Yeah. So I basically, so think of there's a color temperature scale. So when the sun rises, the color temperature in the sun is around 1800. And then when it sets, it's at 16,000 Kelvin. Blue light, on the other hand, it's got a color spectrum of about 5,500 to 6,500, which will equate to anytime between 12 and 1 p.m. So if you're looking at that type of light at like before the sun rises, or worse, after it sets, so like at 6 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., that's giving the signal to your brain, hey, it's 12 o'clock, it's 1 p.m., that's not the time to start winding down and go to sleep. It's time to do stuff. So, and that's actually one of the big things that actually destroys melatonin the worst, is artificial light at night.
Yeah, wow. So let's just explain to the viewers why you have a red light going on at your place, because we have a time difference.
Yes.
And it's late at night at your place. Therefore, you're toning down the light stimulation to get the body more ready for a deeper sleep cycle. Is that right?
That's correct. So yeah, it's 8:45 where I am, p.m. And I've got the blue blocking glasses on, and then over my head there's an amber light that has no blue light, no flicker, because that's something that also affects people, is like the flicker.
Like a bit like strobing.
Yeah, it's like a strobe light, but we can't actually physically see it, but our brain can feel it, basically.
Yeah, some people get seizures from that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so anytime once the sun goes down, I basically put the blue blockers on, and we've got these type of lights all over the place. Some we have red and.
But the screen you're looking at in this interview, is that just a normal screen, or do you do something else to that screen? Is there a filter?
I have a filter called Iris, so that's the best one I use. There's one called Flux as well, but that doesn't. Iris, you can take the blue light down to 0, and they say it also takes the flicker out as well. So
can we use that for TV after the sun goes down?
They don't have Iris is not for TV. I do use I recommend a screen called Waken, just WAKN, and it's just like it's like an amber screen that they custom make it, and you just put it over the television, and you can watch it that way.
Balances out. So does that change the colors of everything you see? Like if you saw, I know, a bunch of flowers, would it have the same colors with this filtering on?
It would have a different color because the screen would be amber. Yeah. So
you'll have to save your viewing of full spectrum colors for daytime, right?
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Or you can listen to a podcast in audio.
Yeah.
That might put you to sleep.
Yeah.
So you said in your writings that light is more important than food or exercise. So obviously we know we need a holistic package of everything working together, and you've just, explained why just the food and just the exercise isn't enough. So what part does this exposure to the right kind of light have in the scheme of things? If you were to give everything a percentage of importance, a value?
I would not feel comfortable giving like a general recommendation for that, because everybody has their own personal context.
Sure.
So obviously you in Australia, you get a whole lot better sun than I get here in Ohio.
We do, but believe it or not, people don't use the sun like they should. You know, they go from their office to their home, and they get very short bursts of sun
Oh,
exposure. You've got to be mindful about it actually to make it happen, even if you have it available. People take it
yeah,
for granted. If we've got lots of it, people just don't
yeah,
think about it.
yeah. I know. I mean, I was just on a cruise to the Virgin Islands, and what I saw, it just, yeah. I still have to make a podcast about it. It just irks me that people do certain things, but yeah. So I mean, it depends person to person. Like every person's context is different, so
Yep,
their life experiences, where their mitochondria health is, and
yep.
where they actually live, how they live. But
Because
pretty
we
much,
need that infrared too, don't we? That's very important
yes,
for healing. The
yes,
infrared stimulates stem cell production, lots of healing in the body, gets
yeah,
things moving.
yeah, because it's 42% of all sunlight that comes to the Earth is in the red spectrum.
Hmm.
So that's one of the things about blue light is there with like artificial light, there's no red anymore. Like I'm sure you remember the incandescent bulbs that have,
Yes,
I think they're now banned
I'm old
worldwide.
enough, yes.
Yeah, they're banned worldwide. I think they just banned
Oh,
the U.S.
really? I
last
didn't know
year.
that.
But they had red light in them, and that's why if you touched it,
Yeah,
you would
was
get
hot.
burned.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, and and I would always when I was a kid, take my thermometer, put it up to the thing, so I wouldn't have to go to school.
Ah,
But yeah, so
it's a neat trick.
yeah, yeah, learned it from Ferris Bueller. So,
So now everything is LEDs.
LEDs and CFLs. So CFLs are the compact fluorescent. Those are even worse because they actually contain mercury. If you do have those, so those are like the little spirally ones.
Yes,
If
yep,
you,
yep.
yeah, if you
I
have those,
I remember there was a
yeah,
lot of information that came out about those, and then you had to be very careful how you got rid of it, as you said,
mhm,
because if it broke, you're not allowed here even to put them in the garbage bin
mm,
because they don't want that leaching mercury
yeah,
to get into the garbage dumps or be
yeah,
handled accidentally by workers in between. It's
mhm,
that dangerous.
it is, yeah, yeah, because it's vaporized mercury if it breaks, basically. So you basically need like a hazmat kind of thing.
Yeah, so learning to live in this technological world and still maintain balance is a trick. Is requires a lot of skill and knowledge, doesn't it? We have to learn how to do that better. So, like we can't go back to the Stone Age and not have all the technological conveniences we have. It
Mhm,
helps us in many ways to move forward. You can't give away the gains,
yeah,
but we have to learn to manage it better, just
right.
like we have to learn to manage our garbage better. Um, it's about management at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, one of the best things or advice that I can give is just try and stay away from as much wireless technology as
Yep.
you
Well,
can.
when we built this house and facility here, we had everything wired through the wall
Very
with a
good.
LAN cable, and we don't have Wi-Fi inside the house,
Awesome.
except if someone calls us on a mobile phone. But it's
Yeah.
very, very minimal. Yeah.
Yep. Well, one thing you can do is with your phone, there's like an Ethernet connector, and you can just take your phone, plug it into the Ethernet, and you don't have to
Ah,
use the signal. You can
oh, there you go.
basically, yeah,
Another piece of useful technology.
absolutely. Yeah. So,
That's what
yeah.
it's all about. So, getting back to the health benefits of working with your circadian rhythms, you also mentioned the importance of DHA and how that is affected by not having the right kind of light.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. DHA I consider the most important nutrient that we eat, or we're supposed to eat. A lot of people I don't know how it is down there, but a lot of people have like they don't like seafood, they don't like the taste of it and whatnot. And one of the things I always say is nature doesn't care about your wants, desires, preferences, or beliefs. It will eventually take you out if you're not following her rules. But DHA, for those that don't know, it's the omega-3 fatty acid. It's found in seafood, but One of the most important things that it does is it takes sunlight and it turns it into a DC electric current. So Robert O. Becker in the 1950s or 1960s, he found
Body electric.
Yep, The Body Electric. That's one of the books I recommend. He found that in all living things, animals and even bacteria, they will emit a DC electric current during the day, and that's basically their healing current during the day. And then at night it shuts off because it regenerates, and we have other programs to help us restore and whatnot. But yeah, DHA is super, super important. The sicker you are, the more DHA you want to get in so you can build back that electric current, because it's going to basically, because we're electromagnetic beings.
And you get it from fatty foods, don't you, the DHA? As you mentioned before, fatty fish.
It's mostly from seafood, land animals. It will be in grass-fed meat, but not too much. Of all the land animals, lamb has the most. But it's like shellfish is the biggest and best source of DHA. But if you're going to eat fish, you want to stick more with like smaller fish because
also high in magnesium, which is also in deficit with a lot of people because it directly affects metabolism. So the mitochondria need magnesium to then make ATP. Adenosine triphosphate is our electrical energy currency. And if we don't get enough magnesium, it kind of slows the system down a lot. We can't metabolize, and that affects the brain, the organs, the skin, the bones, like everything in the body. And especially the muscles. That's what we tend to feel first, which is why, people associate it with cramps. And, agitation and not being able to sit still and, because magnesium directly suppresses the adrenaline in the body. So we always need a balance. It's not, magnesium doesn't behave like a drug. It doesn't suppress things that are not supposed to be suppressed. It's an adaptogen, so it helps your body normalize. So if you have high blood pressure, it helps you normalize to a normal blood pressure. If you have low blood pressure, it brings you up to a normal blood pressure. So it's helping the body re-regulate everything. It's a regulator, actually. That's why they call it, scientists call it the master mineral. Because it's the power plug. It's like plugging in our biological system. So you might have everything else working fine, but without the energy, without that juice, it can't operate. And so the infrared is also an interesting component because, those molecules in the water. So magnesium works well with water in the body. It's absolutely essential. It has up to 400 times the ability to swell with water. It can hydrate its shell up to 400 times its original weight. And come back. So it's very flexible. It's like a sponge, and it works with the water, and it makes the water work better in the body. And cells absolutely love magnesium in the water. They actually suck up more of the water and work better. The whole electrical system, you flush out toxins better. Everything works better when magnesium's in the water supply. And then when you apply the sun with the infrared energy, it makes that water move. And that was found or put in the book by Dr. Gerald Pollack. He wrote the book Cells, Gels, and the Engines of Life. And he showed that when they applied the infrared, the water moved through the pipe like blood flows through a capillary. It has water movement. So it energizes the water molecules. And what is our body made of? It's mostly water, right?
Yeah, he also wrote the book, The Fourth Phase of Water.
Phase of Water. Yes.
That one.
Brilliant book.
He found that when red light hits our cells, it creates an exclusion zone of water. So basically, charge separates electrons and protons. So it basically starts to build your battery, and then ultraviolet UV light is what expands that battery. It's
all about the charge differential. And that's what they found when magnesium drops in cells, the membrane that holds everything together in the cell starts to get loose. and we lose the charge differential, then, you can lose magnesium, water starts to dehydrate the cell, you lose potassium, and then you have terrible health problems because you're not maintaining that charge differential. So much depends on the electrical system. And I think mainstream medicine really hasn't caught up with how important that is to the body. We're still at a very primitive end in the public hospital system of, drugs and chemicals and, in these artificial environments where there's nothing more unhealthy than a hospital. All the lights and the noises and it's sterile. And it's sterile. Of course, it depends on the circumstances, but it's also very healthy to go home and, hug your dog or your cat, your pet.
Exactly.
And be exposed to some bugs that help your gut microbiome. So we've got to learn to live with the bugs. We can't kill them all.
Exactly.
And notice too how animals, speaking of animals, like to go outside and roll on the grass or on the warm concrete. They're charging their body with the Earth's electromagnetic field. You can just see the smile on their face, how good it feels to them. I sometimes envy them. I think, but I perhaps should roll on the grass myself.
I have a 14-year-old.
In the sun.
Yeah, I have a 14-year-old sheep who she's out there. During the day, I usually set my office outside, so I'm grounded, and she's out there with me and just sleeping in the sun all day.
So with your courses, where people can learn more or take it on board themselves or adopt this strategy in their life, how can they find out about what you do? Where should they go? Your website?
Well, the best thing to do probably be get onto the Improvement Warrior newsletter. That's where I share everything. So that's improvementwarriorfitness.com/NL. And I do have a 17-step, I call it the Mitochondriac Improvement Warrior Guidebook. So it's basically 17 steps that you can implement. I recommend starting with just one or two. Don't go gung-ho and go 17. That's usually when we take on too much, we fail. So that's improvementwarriorfitness.com/
bite-sized pieces.
Yeah. So improvementwarriorfitness.com/mitochondriac. And then I'm also on social media.
That's a good word, mitochondriac.
Yeah. That's Jack Cruz's name for his misfits, basically, or his followers. And then I'm also on social media, and usually when I do a post, I'll put a hashtag at the end so you can take a deeper dive. So I'll go blue light with Jan, sunlight with Jan, that kind of stuff. So,
it's good to be curious. As soon as you understand one thing, another door opens, and you need to know a little bit more, don't you? It's a lifelong journey, I found. We should never stop learning.
No.
I mean, look how big the universe is. It's a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
And we learn from experience. What's true and right resonates, doesn't it? We feel the difference. It's rather than just believing what someone else says, if you can apply that in your own life and it works, woohoo.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing, all the stuff that I've learned in the last 6 years. And it's always, if you think you know something, it's probably that you don't actually know what it is.
But you can feel that truth. So your mental health, your physical health, everything feels much better when you have enough sunlight. You just think of when you've gone to the beach and you've been exposed to all that magnesium in the air and the negative ions, charged by the wave action, the sunlight, and just everything coming together, the fresh air. It just is the best grounding.
It is.
And you just feel like you can float, mentally. It gives you the feeling of you're invincible and everything is fine and you don't worry about a thing.
Right.
You can conquer Mount Everest with that feeling.
Yes, you can. It's amazing. So I always say, if you start feeling bad, just know you're probably losing electrons. So
Yes.
just get outside, ground, get in the sunlight, connect to nature.
That's it. Get in tune with your own body and know when the amber light is flashing, don't let it get to red.
Yes, exactly.
Actually, the red from the sun's good, but you know what I mean. Don't let it get bad.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we can do little things that don't cost money. You know,
Right.
the sun's free.
That's free. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure that they're trying to figure out a way to charge us for it.
Oh dear. Well,
Yeah.
with knowledge and awareness, that won't happen. Just have to hope a lot of people wake up, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wake up and see the light.
Help see the light and stop with the pill first mentality. So
Yeah, I think that's a good note for us to finish on. It's been
Okay.
a lovely chat, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Sandy. Anytime.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
I hope you liked this conversation and will share it with others. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you want to listen to other Body Charge conversations, click like, subscribe, the bell icon, and click all notifications. Subscribe to our newsletter to get updates on blogs, podcasts, videos, and magnesium special offers at electromagnesium.com.au. Relax, recharge.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Hey, Improvement Warrior. Are you spending long hours in front of your screen, TV, feeling the strain on your eyes, or struggling with fatigue? If that sounds familiar, I've got something that could literally change your daily routine for the better. Waken's blue light filtering screens and lighting. That's right, whether you're working on your laptop, binge watching your favorite TV series, or you simply want to upgrade your indoor lighting at home or in your office, Waken has got you covered. Their innovative blue light filtering screens help reduce eye strain and improve your overall sleep quality by taking blue light down by 80% with their amber screen or by 100% with their red screen. Say goodbye to those late night headaches and endless tossing and turning. And it's not just for your eyes. Waken products aim to support your circadian health, helping you maintain energy levels throughout the day. Imagine feeling more awake and alert naturally and ready for sleepy time when it is actually sleepy time. Check it out at improvementwarriorfitness.com/waken. Use code IMPROVEMENTWARRIOR, all one word, can be lowercase or uppercase, for 10% off.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
If you would like to support this podcast, then please visit me on Patreon to become a patron of Improvement Warrior Podcast. The podcast may be free for you, but it definitely is not free for me. So even if it's just $1 pledge or $3 or $50, I would greatly appreciate it. Just search on Patreon for Improvement Warrior or go to patreon.com/Improvement Warrior. It will also be listed in the show notes along with other ways to support the show via our sponsors or either via PayPal or Anchor support. To schedule your discovery call with me, simply go to improvementwarriorfitness.com/discovery call.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
We are always looking for ratings for the podcast. It helps my podcast be found by others looking to improve their life and health, as well as it helps us get ranked higher. So please help us out. so that I may continue bringing this life-changing podcast to you and others around the world. Just go to the leave a review section of your favorite podcast listening app and let us know what you think. 5 stars is preferred, but please be honest. Thank you in advance.